Okay, remember they're changing my voice. This video is about being a man, and I challenge the viewers to present a counter argument if you think you have one. Okay, so there's a lot of wordplay evidence, right? Etymology, linguistics, that gives away that the people doing this know that their cultures are immature. It's in their Bible, right? Folly is in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline will drive it away. It's in the idea of the sun. The sun rises in the morning, right? The sun raises itself up, right? It's raised by God. It's symbolic as the sun raising humanity, right? To accept God's commands through the sun in order to be raised right, in order to be a true man or a true woman. We see that when people got married historically, quite often they would say, "You've made a woman out of her." Well, isn't she a woman already because of her age and her parents raising her? No. They said that the man who wears the pants, who's supposed to put God first, they say God, family, country, they're supposed to put God first, then makes a woman out of her. So if she's raised wrong already, then someone has to go the distance to raise her right and make a woman out of her, and marrying her isn't enough. She has to really try with her heart to be in obedience, to truly be forged right. She has to accept that man's authority, something that a lesbian cannot do, something that an open relationship cannot achieve, something that a gay couple cannot achieve. So when you see in Kings, what was David's message to Solomon on his deathbed? Keep in mind, Jesus said he's the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star. And when David was on his deathbed, it was well after he made the mistake with Bathsheba, where he sent her husband to die and then takes her as one of his women. That was well after that. One of his best moments was his deathbed speech. And he said, be strong, be spiritually, morally, mentally strong, have heart, and obey God, and walk in obedience to God. Keep his commands. And what did Jesus say? He said that those who obey the commands of God are his family, not the flesh, which definitively also overkilled what he said about the kingdom of heaven being taken away from the Jews and given to a people who will do its works. He says, those who do the works and obey the commands of God are the true Jews. Those who claim to be Jews but are not are of the synagogue of Satan. And Paul in his letter said in Galatians 3:28 that there's no Jew or Gentile, just people who obey God, who are in Christ in truth, and people who aren't, who don't. Okay, pretty straightforward. It also says in Proverbs 16:12 that a throne is established in righteousness and justice, again overkilling it. Not everyone is equal. We know that from the parable of the 10 minas. And one of these guys is given 10 minas, like being the top martial artist ever, more minas than everyone else, and he masterfully moves with them and brings back another 10 on top of that, okay? And he's given charge of 10 cities. So he's above the other ones. And the other ones need to respect the chain of command. Part of obeying God's commands is respecting the chain of command in divinity, not in the world, not the military, the police, or Freemasonry, or the Boy Scouts, or your martial arts school, but the divine order. A throne is established in justice and righteousness, not mere experience in human rules, customs, traditions, and organizations, but in righteousness and justice. In Proverbs, it also says that you must fear the Lord and the king who's established himself in righteousness and justice, and do not join with rebellious officials. And in Samuel, it says rebellion is like the sin of divination and arrogance and idolatry. He compares rebellion to these things. It is like being an arrogant, idolatrous, divining whore. Folly is an unruly woman, and folly is bound up in the heart of a child. So you see people putting their nose up at me, literally, as part of their harassment campaign. They're conceding their pedophile master's points that they're not a man. They say, we chose you because you're not a fucking man. Your parents weren't men, and their parents weren't men, all the way back to the beginning. More or less, so to speak. They said, that's why we chose you. Now go be a good bitch and persecute the top martial artist ever that our Bible made crystal clear that if you don't obey, that you're not a man. Crystal clear. Aquarium, goldfish, and all motherfuckers. So now go be a good bitch. That type of a person could not make a woman out of a female. He's just a child molesting piece of shit, putting himself unfairly in the position of a man. How could it be any other way? Present your viable counterargument. If you have none, you've conceded to a T that you're not a man. You not a man motherfuckers. How could it be any other way? Be strong, spiritually, with heart, mentally. Ver in virtue means man, Rothschild, Babylon, baby line, baby lawn, Babylon, baby L on some bullshit, Babylon. Said, be a man. Don't be some punk ass bitch listening to pedophiles and their allies going, yes sir, right away because I'm a bitch. But be a man, and which means obeying God. And I alone am the gate. The parable of the 10 minas. John 10. The Lion of Judah. Not the pink poodle bending over for the corporate state. That's some bitch ass fucking shit, and you all know it to a T. But there you are, clicking your heels like some fairy elf afraid to man up. Shivering under a blanket. As long as I have the upper hand, I'll take someone on. As long as it triggers my bitch complex, I'll take someone on. But actually being a man and obeying God's son, I couldn't do that. I don't give a fuck if I got a cross tattooed on my fucking arm and another one around my neck. I could not do that because I'm a bitch. That's what their actions say. Who could doubt it? I've gone to church for 30 years, but I'm still a bitch. Type of bitch, no matter how much you teach. Their pussy complex and their inferior genes does not allow wisdom to reach these inferior souls. They resort to gang stalking because they're just hoes and trolls.